Okay, I'm going to link this stream to a short that I have up so people can kind of see what I have to say. Not like too many people really care too much, but we're going to roll with it anyway because I think it kind of needs to be said because it's just kind of hit the point of being a kitchen table issue, and I'm kind of tired of dealing with it. Kind of tired is an understatement. Um, Here's my problem with the Diddy situation. It's like politics, right? It's turned into what is going on here? All right, thank you. It's turned into this all-consuming, annoying thing, and we're all tired of it. I don't really care what Diddy did or didn't do. Well, I do. In so much the way that there are victims involved, right? Now, I'm going to name him because he's already been named. Justin Bieber was named as being, well, not really directly named, but has been kind of acknowledged as potentially being a victim of this. Now, bear in mind, uh, up until about a year ago, I drag on Justin Bieber all the time, but it's never anything about his personality. I just don't like his music, right? I kind of laid off of it when the news came out with the whole Diddy thing, and laid out even more when people started to draw the connection that he could have been associated with Diddy. Because it seemed like it was the right thing to do. And it was. I am not, Justin, if you happen to see this, I'm not saying that, nothing like that. And you know what I mean. Um, Here's my current issue with this whole thing. Okay? There's going to be a lot of accusations flying around about who did what at a Diddy party. Okay? Um, One of excuse me for just one moment, I have to correct a thing. One of the accusations that was levied was that he was accused of witness intimidation. In the court system, he has not formally been accused yet. However, and this is going to net kind of a negative response from certain people in the legal community, and they're not going to cope with this very well. Um, at the end of the day, it's up to the feds. Okay? So just because it's not legal in this particular court case, because it violated attorney client privilege, the feds can still bring a separate federal indictment, at which point they can use it. There is nothing preventing them from using it in a separate case against Diddy. That's my first thing. Second thing, and this is important, the telephone recordings. And yes, every prison records your telephone calls. And if they don't, they can get the recordings without a subpoena, typically, without a warrant, normally. All they have to do is make one phone call to their phone company and say, we need a transcript of this call from this line at this time, and they have it. Okay? And by the way, They're a part of the same criminal justice system as the prosecutors. They're a part of the same side of it. So if he did make a phone call intimidating people, the feds don't even need a warrant or a subpoena. There is no right to privacy on a prison phone line. It does not happen. Okay? You are on that phone with the full acknowledgement that you are being listened to by somebody. And I know this because my dad used to work in corrections. And he used to basically come home and laugh about every chucklehead who'd get nailed in the butt because they thought they were on a private line, even though there was a big sign that said all phone calls are monitored right above the phone. This is why inmates try to smuggle in cell phones from outside of prisons so they can make phone calls without being monitored. And that's why they do it, right? It's so they can conduct business on the off chance that someone's going to answer that phone because they're in the slammer. And yes, the reason that my stuff is so disorganized is because I don't actually have a crew or someone who can negotiate YouTube and OBS while I'm doing this stuff for me. I'm one-man armying things for a little bit, so to speak. Here's the problem. Back to the topic. I issued a video, or a 15-second short yesterday. Only 2 people saw it. Thank God. I freaked out and I said, I don't want to cover fucking Diddy anymore. It wasn't because my information was late or I was wrong. I wasn't wrong. There's a very strong reality that Diddy did intimidate witnesses, and there very well could be a federal case separate from the case that he's currently in brought against him for doing such, especially if those witnesses are across state lines. Now, there's a big component to this that people don't realize. The RICO Act. The feds, if they can prove that he had a network of people intimidating witnesses, then they get to dig into every single one of those lives and see their involvement with Diddy. See if they how do you say her name? The Maxwell woman. See if they pulled a her. While Diddy was off doing the unthinkable, they were setting it up and making it happen, right? That's what they're doing. That's why they went into Diddy's cell. They don't care whether he really intimidated witnesses or not. That's a pretext to start looking into these people that Diddy is calling up and saying, hey, I need you to take care of the trash for me, or blah, blah, blah. It is a pretext to a more thorough and bigger indictment and investigation under the federal government. Because then if they can prove that it was part of a conspiracy between him and several other people, especially if that conspiracy crossed state lines, which there's a very strong possibility that it has done that already, then effectively they can start tearing the whole thing down. And that's assuming there is a alternative here, okay? And I hope the first one is true, because I'm a little hopeful that the feds are not this fucking crooked, but after all I've seen since turning 18 years old, it's entirely possible. I'll get to that in a moment. Diddy, the video is called Diddy Do It Again. And the reason it's called Diddy Do It Again is because Sean Diddy Combs has a record of intimidation, violence, misdeeds of an unspeakable nature and getting away with it. Okay? This is not a matter of the court. This is a matter of public reputation. His reputation is literally that. The guy's literally like Satan in a bottle, pretty much. Alright? And that's his reputation. In Hollywood, amongst the public, people made songs about it, for crying out loud, how bad he was. And everyone in Hollywood, if they knew there was a Diddy party going on, they went because they knew what a Diddy party was, or didn't know and thought it'd be a good way to get some extra funding. And ended up being victimized on account of going to a Diddy party. Now, what does this mean for the rest of us? And this is more what that video entails. Those of us who aren't directly involved with the case itself, i.e. victims, co-conspirators, associates, the normal people. Not a damn thing. Not a fucking thing. Okay? My interest in this case is the interest in the fact that the feds have two options here. Number one, they were either looking at building a bigger RICO case against Diddy and some of his accomplices, because, let's face it, you don't just have a Diddy party without, having someone help you set up arrangements, even if it is just setting you up in a hotel. Okay? Number two, if you didn't have that's like the first idea. Number two, he's a burned federal asset and they're just going to burn him out. And they're trying to find him a way that he doesn't get put in Gen Pop or, just offed in general because people are just kind of tired of his shit. Now, here's my problem with the second one. If the feds really wanted to burn him that badly, they just go talk to that judge and say, yeah, we're building a bigger RICO case and we're going to pitch him off into the deepest, darkest hole that we can, so it doesn't matter what you say or do. In which case the judge would come out and say, hey, guess what? They violated your attorney-client privilege, but it doesn't matter because you're still going to jail for the rest of your natural life, so whatever. And then he's basically going to throw the case and, let them have their moment of fame, and then the feds are going to come in, arrest Diddy under federal charges. They're going to ship him off to some hole somewhere that you'll never hear from him again, nor will anyone else. And that'll be the end of it. Like, there will be no due process either. That's the thing people don't realize about the feds. They like to say that the federal government follows due process, and they have to say that publicly. But when you're a nuisance and you're a federal asset, you could be Elon Musk. If you're a federal asset and you get too much up their skirt in the wrong way, you just disappear. Okay? Like, yeah, Jimmy Hoffa. Okay? A lot of people like to say the mob. Well, Jimmy Hoffa was playing both the mob and the feds. And when Jimmy Hoffa was made to disappear, the feds kind of said, who? So, just kind of put that under your belt and think about it for a minute. And yes, I am quite aware this stuff is terrible for me. But when you've been up all night trying to think of the next new video content, unfortunately, dumping poison into your body seems to be the only way to keep it rolling. As counterintuitive as it sounds. And yeah, I'm aware I just accused... what is that? Is Mountain Dew their own separate thing, or is that a PepsiCo? PepsiCo. I'm aware I just called them out directly, yada yada yada. Well, we all know that Mountain Dew has side effects. Deal with it. I sure am. Heck, I've got 2 kids that I know of, and I've been drinking Mountain Dew off and on for most of my life, which probably accounts for most of my gut, that and sitting in front of a camera for so long, and TVs, and doing jobs that are not exactly the most active, which was my biggest undoing. Oh, let's work at a store where you have to stand behind a cash register all the time. Yeah, that's great. That's why I went into the automotive end instead. But anyway, I was getting off base. Um, Here's my big problem with Diddy. It's an all-consuming topic that I don't want to cover. I don't want to cover it because I want my channel to not be about social drama. Now, why do I then have a social commentary and a political channel on there? It is because I want to cover diverse topics, not one all consuming topic, and here's why. I covered the election off and on. I covered the House of Representatives. I made a short about that, where I smoked a cigar and had some Kentucky whiskey, which wasn't bad. And if today goes the way that I hope it does, I might even have some with some cooked turkey tonight. But here's why I don't want to just cover just the election or just P. Diddy. It's a temporary topic. It is not an ongoing thing. I'm not going to sit here for 10, 20 videos covering Diddy. I'm going to cover the stuff that I see, and no, I'm not going to look into it because, and here's the big thing, I really don't care. I care so much as he's going to jail. That's it. That's all I fucking care about. Okay? The feds fucking up and doing something stupid because they want to try to build a bigger RICO case, that's their problem. Okay? The fact is that they may have violated his attorney-client privilege. That's great. That's good for them. That's the feds. That just means that it's notes in jail they can't use. They still have the videotapes. They still have the witnesses. They still have evidence out the wazoo. So I'm not worried about it. Okay? You can't connect his notes in prison to the other outside evidence because there's that strong-ass barrier called the United States prison system. It's just not going to happen. Okay? All that garbage he was trying to throw out in those pizza boxes he was trying to take care of, which is just another way of saying witnesses without saying witnesses, by the way, to those who want to defend Diddy. Yeah. Witnesses in that context also meaning physical evidence, trying to get rid of copies of tapes where he was directly involved and whatnot. I can just about guarantee you that's exactly what that was code for. Anything with his name attached to it that could add on to it. Well, here's the thing, and this is more a message to Diddy at this point. You're better off not doing that, accepting accountability for what you've done and serve the rest of your life in prison. But also just like releasing the tapes in general. Your lawyer has equal access to the material. Good, add a bunch of evidence to it. We all know you're probably going to jail for the rest of your life anyway. Do it. Kind of curious to see what certain political figures were doing at your house. And also, I'm pretty sure the public would love to know what their politicians have been up to. And if we're being real for a minute, with some of the stuff that you're accused of, you could try to fight for a protective custody. I seriously have my doubts about the judge being merciful to that, or amenable to it either. See, I'm not sure about this particular judge, but most judges, they see accusations like this, and before you even hit the ground, before you even set foot in the room, instant bias. Okay? And it's not so much that they necessarily hate the name attached to it, they hate the charge. Okay? And when there's evidence, it's just you're never going to get a fair shake. Okay? It's always going to be against you, period. Now, is that a bad thing? Is that a good thing? I don't really care. I'm not going to get into that topic. What I am going to tell you is how it's going to play out. This particular judge is not going to uptake the Diddy charge that the feds were trying to bring for the witness intimidation. That's not even going to be a part of this. And it doesn't need to be either. They'll just section it off and say, well, whatever. His defense attorney's going to sit there and throw a little temper tantrum because he's paid to. And it's just going to be the end of it. Okay? Oh, I'll appeal. And the appeal is just going to get shot down anyway because Diddy's just going to fucking fry anyway. And his defense attorney probably knows this and is sitting there saying, well, there's not really much we can do about it, but we can at least put on a good show. Pretty much. Because at the end of the day, he still has his credibility as a defense attorney, and he at least has to make it